Hey guys, welcome back to your favorite automotive channel. This is Autofly and this is Dhruv Shah. I'm Gautam Heble and today we have an amazing and exciting video for you guys.
I think this is a really new concept. We haven't touched upon that before, it's interesting to see because there's a lot of confusion going out there. If you are confused of which remap to do to your car or you are considering a remap, I think this video is going to be something really interesting for you guys.
And this video is going to help you decide which remap you would like to do because we are comparing 4 remaps for you guys. 4.
Yeah, talking about the 4 different remaps, but we're going to take them down to the figures. We're going to talk about how the curves look, we're going to talk about how they perform on the dyno and on the road, and we're also going to talk about how they feel when you're driving it actually.
What's amazing about this is we get a few days with each map, so we actually get to try them out ourselves and understand how they behave on the road, because on the dyno is one thing but on the road is another thing because everyone has different driving styles.
Yeah, but before we get to it, we want to give a special thanks to KS Motorsports and Karan Shah especially for helping us out through this video, and he's been a really good inspiration to talk about these maps with.
Yeah, the basic layout of this video is going to be we do each map, we run you through of how the map is done, how they perform on the dyno, and give you the basic figures. But what's interesting and what's really important is the end. The end is where we get down to actually comparing how the maps are according to the curves.
Exactly. So please stick it out till the end of the video.
And that's the most important part of this video because you will actually see how they are on the curves, because numbers are one thing but the curve is also an equally important factor.
Why he's keeping on saying curve is because a lot of your driving style and a lot of your performance of the car is shown by the curve.
Yeah.
How the power is pushed through and how the torque is pushed through. So to understand the performance of these maps, that is why the curves are more important.
Yeah. So that's about it guys. Let's get down to it and I hope this brings you some value. See you guys.
So hey guys, welcome back, and we have just reached KS Motorsports, as you can see behind us, and I'm very excited to load the maps. We are going to talk to him and see which map we're loading first. I think from what we have spoken, it should be the Revo map.
Oh, especially something we should mention is all are on 91 octane fuel maps, it's usable.
And the car is completely stock. There has been no change or no modification done whatsoever, besides the map we're going to put on now.
And the journey starts. So we've just done the stock run on the Octavia and it's produced 182.
But that's on the wheel.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the dyno run of the Revo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, correct.
So now we're going to do the Revo dyno run and then we're going to see what kind of gains we are actually getting.
But you know, in fact, if you notice, the time when you had done your remap, the dyno had showed a lot more stock
No,
power.
so yeah, so when I did my dyno, so of course different dynos, different calibrations. Yeah. So generally you're supposed to look at the difference in the power between stock and the remap.
Yeah,
that's
so
what,
eventually you have to see the potential gain, not the numbers.
Yeah, the gains. So now what's interesting is when I did my dyno run, it produced about 190, 195.
Which is so odd.
I'll put it up here, see how much power it was stock. But it was more than 182, but that was on crank. So I guess at the end of the day it could be the same.
Yeah, but as you said, it's what is the potential gain that we have to look
That's
at,
what
and
we
not
have to
the figures.
Because all dynos are different. So
yeah.
Okay, so
let's go to the
next one.
Sorry, the car's been set up and he's just setting up the laptop and his equipment, and he's going to flash the map onto the car and we'll see how it performs afterwards. So we'll just take you all directly to it. So we have the car right behind us and it's loaded with the map, and I'm really excited. This is the first map that I'm going to try out. I have driven his car, but this is the first time I'm going to drive it on my car, and I'm excited. I'm
I'm sure he'll be able to tell the difference, and it's a stage 1 Revo map. For the dyno run, we'll actually know what kind of horsepower and torque we're getting, so we'll be able to compare. But I mean, it took 15 minutes, which was epic, and I think now, yeah, let's just
go drive, man. Let's just go drive
after the dyno.
So guys, we've just installed the first map. So it produced about 210 horsepower at wheel.
So that's about a 30 horsepower bump.
Approximately, yeah. Approximately.
Not bad, not bad. So I think it will be exciting to see how it drives and, you know, also the curve, which we will explain later.
Yeah, I was just going to get to that. The curve is very nice to see, and it's a little different from what the stock curve is running. So I think it's going to be more refined power.
Yeah. But I think you'll know more when you drive the car.
Yeah.
And we'll know more when we actually compare the curves between all the maps. Right?
Yeah. So let's get to the drive now and we'll get back after that. So in terms of power, I don't think this map is any less powerful as compared to the other maps so far that I've seen or heard about. It is a little more gradual. So what I mean by gradual is that till the first 2500 RPM, it gives a more smoother incline, and then after that it just shoots. And I quite like this, that in a city drive, I like the little gradual rise, because otherwise I'd just be like, at every signal I'll be going fast, I'll be stopping, I'll be going fast, I'll be stopping. So I think this is a map that is good for an enthusiast who also likes a lot of power but also comfortable with city drive. Now as you can see, we're already back on the road. So we are going again to KS Motorsports. We're going to switch it to another map. So see you all later. It is time for number 2.
So now we're going to do the Etuners Dyno Run. So we are actually first we are loading the map. That's more important.
Yeah.
After loading the map, we're going to do the Dyno Run and we're going to see what kind of gains we're getting. So at stock, as we already mentioned, we're getting about 182.
Yeah.
182 on the wheels. So now it's time to see how much we're getting after the Etuners remap. And personally, I'm kind of excited for Etuners.
You know, I'm actually personally excited because I've heard it's a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
I just hope when we drive it, it's the same way.
Yeah, let's hope so. So now to the dyno. We'll take some shots of the dyno and then show you the results. So guys, the remap is done and we placed a little bet. Actually, the dyno is going to be done now and we placed a bet on how much power you think it's going to produce.
Well, I feel, but what's the wager?
Age of $500 bucks.
100, please, 100. Rich kids.
100 rupees.
So I think it's gonna, at wheel, it's gonna give like 207.
I say at wheels, nah, I say 200. 200.
Conveniently, you took the lower end.
So yeah, let's get to the dyno. So guys, this Dyno Run was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So it's producing 225.
It is surely
at around 5,000 RPM.
At least on the map, it is surely more powerful than the Revo.
Yeah.
But I liked how.
So the curves, curves is what was interesting. So the Revo is much smoother curve, and I guess efficiency-wise,
it gives the power more early. Yeah.
But here you're getting early torque, severely early torque, and 325 Newton meters of torque, which is quite a bit at the wheels, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a dyno run with my car also, the Superchips, and we're going to see at wheels how much it's actually.
Yeah, I want to compare that.
Yeah, because as we mentioned earlier, every dyno is different. So if we do it on the same dyno, it'll be more interesting to compare.
Yeah.
But gains about how much? 182 to 225.
Yeah.
45 horsepower approximately. Yeah. Not bad. Okay guys, so see you. We'll go for a drive now. I think that's about it. Today's day ends. Chalo, see you guys. So guys, now we're in the car. It's the next morning actually.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. So I think it's a little more calmer today.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna properly get to try out the map, how it's come, and
I'm sure you already tried it.
I did, but there have been these little bursts of patches that I'm getting. Not a good straight, but I think now. So what I'm facing with this map is.
Bro, speed breaker.
Why are you hitting the brakes, bud? So what is happening is, I think what I figured out till like up to 2000 RPM, it's slowly growing, and then after it crosses that 2500 RPM mark, it flows it. So it's like a soft beast, like that's just waiting to be pushed, and but it picks up. I haven't been able to check a lot about the fuel efficiency aspect, how it's giving me on an average. I mean, since we've had it only for a day so far it's giving me a decent average what I used to get, but I was expecting a little more, but I don't know. I've been I've been testing out the map, so I wouldn't say I was driving that fuel efficiently.
Welcome back guys to another day. Today we are back at it. So we are again heading to KS Motorsports, and let's just go ahead with it. Actually, today we are going to switch our remap to Code 6 now.
Yeah.
So you've been using...
This is the last map.
Yes.
So we've done Etuners, we've done Revo, and now Code 6.
So I think it's going to be exciting, and currently right now on this car is Etuners, and we're just going to go switch it to Code 6, do a Dyno Run. And special thanks to Karan and from KS Motorsports in being so supportive and helpful in this whole process, and of course giving us the chance to show you guys what the differences are and what you would like in these different remaps, and also for us.
Yeah,
it's a lot of learning for us. Cool. So that's about it, and now we'll see you at KS. Car's loaded. Right now it's running Etuners as we already mentioned, but the car's loaded up. We're going to switch to Code 6 and then do another dyno. So see you guys. So guys, the car is out of the dyno, and finally we've done the dyno run. It was very interesting to see the Code 6 tune as well.
Yeah,
so,
and you know, it's actually performing quite well. I'm actually surprised to see how smooth the craft is.
So it's important to note here that power figures are not the only thing that you should look at when you're doing a remap, because for example, as we mentioned in Etuners, we got 225, but here in this case we got 209, 210 horsepower, and torque we didn't have a look, but we'll actually show you all the curves and explain everything in the end. So power is not the only thing, but the curve was actually interesting.
So I think this is a good hybrid of both the maps. If you look at it, it's taking the power as good as probably both the maps, and the curve is as good as probably a Revo map or something. It's climbing it higher,
so
and it's giving a more flatter curve.
So it's basically a smooth curve.
Yeah.
But
so it's
smooth delivery of power overall.
But we haven't driven it so far, so I wouldn't want to be too soon to say that it's got the best of both. I would want to drive it and then see how it is.
So guys, we're in the car now with Dhruv Shah, and this time it's the Code 6 map which we are going to test. And he's driven it for a few days.
Yeah, I've driven it for a few days, and I'm the most excited after driving this map, because it was surprising to see how these maps are so marketed so differently, but on the base they have a very similar performance.
See, I mean, at the end of the day, the horsepower difference is about 10 or approximately. I think Revo and Code 6 is very similar.
Yeah,
210. So in terms of numbers, they're similar, but I think when it comes to drivability, then the curve comes into the picture.
Yeah,
because when the torque kicks in, when the power kicks in.
Exactly. One of the major differences that I found from the other maps is that this map allows me to get my torque kicking much sooner.
So the torque kicks in sooner, and then the power comes in.
Power gradually comes in, yes. But when your torque kicks in, you can already feel the car just going for it. So, which was similar to Revo, but this obviously has a little stronger torque in the start. So the curve is a little earlier. But also with that came a little more wheel spin if I just directly floor it.
Of course.
Which did not happen in Etuners, neither did that happen. I'm assuming now, since I've driven Superchips also, it did not happen the same way in that map. With this map, the Code 6 map, in terms of city driving, it's not shown me much of a difference, because you're bumper to bumper, and in Bombay, I mean, that's the best
What
you're
about
going to get.
fuel efficiency?
So, good point. Fuel efficiency, I found Code 6 to be a little more fuel efficient than the other maps so far, and obviously you're not going to get a much better fuel efficiency out of these maps, but that can be catered to if you consider changing your exhaust, etc. So that would be better for your mileage later on. But if I'm just talking about only the stock flashed onto the car, nothing else, then as of now Code 6 is coming off far better than the other maps. And me, as per my driving style, I love the style where it's giving me the torque and it's gradually increasing the power, but when I want the power, and I can get it instantly. So it allows me that flexibility, because I'm more into city driving as well. So far I have personally felt that these are the major differences between the maps.
So yeah, now that's about it, I think.
Yeah.
So see you guys.
Let's get back to it.
So guys, we are just loading up my car onto the dyno now, because I've done, as you guys know, I've done a Superchips remap. So we thought we should compare that as well. So after all, we'll be comparing about 4 maps.
Yeah, totally 4 maps, and plus the stock runs of what the cars are doing anyway.
So my stock is not possible, but of course his stock has been done.
So we've already done Superchips on dyno once, right, at N1?
Yeah, so N1 I have done the dyno run as well, because crank over there was 260, at crank So
That's a lot of performance
so
from
here
the
we are gonna
Superchips.
here we are gonna do here we are gonna do at wheel. So it's gonna be interesting to see the difference.
Yeah, and from what I've heard or what I've driven so far on the car, I feel Superchips is a very aggressive map.
So yeah, people say that Superchips is an aggressive map, but let's see. And I feel it's quite aggressive, and it's kind of peppy. But of course, there's a lot of turbo lag in it. But let's see. I think on the wheel we'll see the actual curve and the actual horsepower figures. So
All right.
stick around. So the car's dyno just got done.
Surprising figures.
Surprising. I'm kind of underwhelmed. Like, I'm kind of sad actually with the result.
I mean, we'll give the benefit
I
of
was
the
shown stars, and the reality is planet Earth.
So
not
what we
bad, but-
found, so at crank, as you said, it was performing at 260 horsepower, but after reading the curve on the dyno, we found out that it's roughly producing around 201, 202 at wheel. So not as...
Something is wrong. Something is wrong here. But let's see. I mean, we'll do a further, like a proper analysis on the curve to actually see what the difference is.
But-
because I mean, power doesn't always matter.
But we will be sticking to the figures that we have got on this dyno so that we get a fair base set for them and comparison is equal.
So yeah, that's about it. I'm kind of sad day, but okay. It's okay.
All right.
It's okay. So finally we've reached the end of this amazing video, and now it comes down to the actual curves and the way the maps have performed on the dyno, and now we'll actually analyze and compare the curves itself, so we understand where the torque kicks in, where the horsepower kicks in. So now it's actually, this will help you make that decision on which map you would like to go with.
And we found quite a few facts that even we thought were quite interesting to share, which we weren't expecting before.
So we have Karan Shah with us, who's going to run us through this whole analysis. So it will be very helpful, and of course an expert with us will be even better. We'll start with the stock. So just to give you an idea, this is the stock curve, and the stock curve initially, Karan, if you would like to add.
Yeah, like stock curve
So the
initially
power,
it makes power gradually because they expect a young guy to drive as well as an old lady to drive. So they're not going to throw all the power in right now, you know. So torque climbs up peacefully, slowly, and then it goes into horsepower.
And then the horsepower, in fact, the horsepower and torque comes mid to high.
Yeah,
of the
Correct.
RPM.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
It's
not
a little
much
higher.
to see in the stock, but this we just thought we'll add a base to the whole conversation. And just to note, please, this is on the Skoda Octavia 1.8 TSI, and all these curves are for that particular car.
Yeah. People are doing remaps to the Octavia, so we thought it's kind of useful for you guys. So
It's
now,
useful for me also.
Yeah.
Well, even I didn't know there's so much of a difference. I knew there was some difference, but how much these guys have nailed it down correctly for me also.
so next one we did was Revo.
Yeah.
So now Revo specializes in Volkswagen, right?
Yes, Revo is Audi Volkswagen guys. They've been doing only Audi Volkswagen, the VAG group for I think now 15-18 years.
Yeah. So here when we look at the curve, now you can immediately see that the torque and the horsepower have moved slightly back to the mid, not low, but mid to higher as
The
well.
torque is comes in a little more sooner.
Yeah.
Compared to the stock one. So when as soon as you drive this car, you come out of the place after the flash, you feel, there's something happening to the car. But what is happening is now we understand. The Pele curve was little later, now it's a little sooner.
Yeah. But also what's interesting is the curve has become smoother. When you look at the stock is a little bumpy, but the curve on the Revo is quite smooth.
Correct.
So you'll feel that smoothness and refined power.
To add to it, when I instantly, this was the first map we did, right? So after taking the stock car and then driving this instantly, you know how much difference is there in driving, and you instantly feel like, okay, you know, this is so smooth, and it's a lot of difference from just driving it normally and accelerating. It just was refined.
Yeah, refined is the word I would use for Revo. Refined Revo.
Move on to the Etuners. So the next map we did was Etuners. Now Etuners is a crazy map. That's all.
I would just call it jungly. Like it takes off, it starts slowly and then it takes off.
Yeah.
So it makes the most horsepower
power.
amongst all of these.
Yeah.
So if you want a real ripper car, then you need to use Etuners. But if you see the torque curve, it's a little more laid back compared to Revo, and then it takes off.
Yeah,
You know? So it's smooth, and then somewhere it just decides, oh, I don't want to be smooth anymore, I want to take off, and that's what it does.
So, by the way, we forgot to mention that max horsepower Revo is 210 from 180, and then Etuners is 225.
It just goes wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it goes
yeah.
wild. So initially you won't feel it. So does that mean extra turbo lag in Etuners? Would you feel like a turbo lag effect? Or?
Margin, if you compare just for a few thousand RPM, like say from 1500 RPM to 3000, you may find Etuners to be a little laggier than Revo or the other map that we're going to discuss next. But then once the turbo pressure starts, then you can't catch up to it because it's really boosting heavy.
Yeah.
So
And it's
lag may be
interesting-
marginal.
Yeah, and it's interesting also because torque and horsepower, the max torque, max horsepower is around the same point.
Yes.
So next one comes is Code 6.
Code 6.
Now Code 6, according to us, was, I mean, the power figures. So power is similar
They
to
thought it was
Revo.
the underdog case, इसमें कुछ होने नहीं वाला है.
Yeah,
We actually thought that.
Even
And-
I thought that for a bit.
And power figures are similar to Revo, so it's 209 and Revo is 210 horsepower. But interestingly, the Code 6 max power is much later
Yeah.
than Revo.
but you get a lot more wheel spin when you drive.
Yeah, because the torque is high.
So
initially.
what happens in the Code 6, it gives you a lot of torque soon.
Yeah.
So when you're driving, you will use lesser throttle to reach the position which previously in a stock car you would have to use more throttle.
Yeah.
So actually that also equates to fuel efficiency.
Yeah.
So if you have a Code 6 map, you expect more drivability in the city with fuel efficiency.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah,
which
that's-
I did see reflected in
Yeah.
the figures also. And so in Code 6, when I'm driving, when I'm trying to floor it, obviously it shows the wheel spin because that torque kicks in.
Right.
Similarly, what happens in Revo also, I had a little of that, but at much later.
Much later, yeah.
And on Etuners, I didn't need to do that. Because I didn't. If I'd floor it, it wouldn't take off.
Yeah.
I'd have to give it that pace. I'd have to do it and then floor it.
But after 3000, you must have
and
felt like
then
a
it just then it kicks. You feel that little jerk
Push.
in the
Yeah. Also, it's much smoother. It starts sooner. The horsepower kicks in, and it's really smooth. It looks like a runway when you look at it. That perfect graph. I really like this
and
Code 6
it's
graph.
very interesting to see that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we did. So my car was already running Superchips, so we thought we'll also compare that. So we also did the Dyno Run on that. So in Superchips, we saw excessive torque initially, and that's why I feel that wheel spin. But after a point, so after in the mid range, there's a sudden drop.
Little about 3,700. There's a dip in torque,
a dip,
yeah.
and then
Yeah,
it
dip.
climbs up again,
Climbs up
and then again there is a minor dip, and then so. I mean, I cannot say it, but
More
I'm
of a
just dying to say that you rather go surfing on this wave, than put it in your car.
But do you feel that
But-
when you drive it, or is it just
I do feel it. I do feel it. But then the horsepower, the max power is very late. That is the problem
Yeah.
with. So I feel the torque definitely, but then I feel the dip, and then I feel the power again. But it's too late. Like
But
it's
driving
around
Superchips,
6,000.
what I felt was in the start, the first few seconds of it, you get that whole push.
Yeah, you
so
feel
That's
you
what it
already
shows, yeah.
accelerate insane.
Yeah,
you
then
feel
you
that.
have the power.
An insane wheel spin. A lot
Yeah,
of
and
wheel
then there's a dip, so
Then
you
there's
slow
that
down,
dip, yeah.
and then you take
Yeah.
off again. So maybe if you add in an exhaust into this or an intake, this dip may clean up.
Acha.
I'm not sure, but definitely there is something to work on there.
Oh, and interestingly, Superchips max power was about 201 horsepower, which was kind of underwhelming, to be honest.
So it's confusing, no? So
it's just
because when you accelerate, there's torque, so you get the power,
Yeah.
and nobody goes to high RPM. So, "Arre, mera gaadi fast hai."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there you hear it shows that how much fast.
yeah.
You know, but when they talk about these maps, when we've seen enthusiasts talk about it, they use the term aggressive.
Right.
Is that a right way to put it when you're describing these maps?
Sure, yeah. Revo was a smooth map,
Correct.
so was Code 6. And aggressiveness was in the Superchips, and Etuners
Etuners.
comes out
But
later on,
later.
Much
right?
later on,
So aggressive is when you accelerate and it takes off, is
Yeah,
where the torque has started.
Yeah,
Correct.
makes sense.
But then you don't know what has happened later on. So aggressive is correct word. Also, at higher RPM, if you're aggressive at higher RPM, then you're going to have more timing issues, heating issues in the exhaust. So aggressive map is an overall generic term to make more power. That's it. Aggressive hai, so it's making more power.
Which is
But
not-
how it's making power is to be understood.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, we see the power ranges are in the similar range. We aren't seeing any.
Yeah, nothing
besides
except Etuners, yeah.
We aren't
Yes.
seeing like such a huge difference.
So that goes
in
to
power.
show that if you want something that's really fast, like jungly, Etuners who's up there, lot of power. And then Revo and Code 6 are all around there.
So it comes down to driving style basically. So I guess if you want
and
like
also safety of the car.
safety, of course, yeah.
You're pushing more juice out of the car.
Yeah.
And then Etuners is doing that, and Revo and Code 6 have decided not push that much. There must be a reason why they've decided to do that.
So yeah, so driving styles, I guess if you want like a little more power and a smooth drive, then you could go for Revo or Code 6. Am I
Correct. Yeah.
And then if you want like mad, if you want to go like street racing, I guess, then you can go for Etuners.
Yeah, you're an
And
all-night
Superchips
ripper,
maybe.
then
Yeah.
Superchips Etuners.
Yeah.
But Superchips doesn't have as much power as Etuners has.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to
Correct.
mention. But you'll feel that torque. Initially, you'll feel that
Yeah,
torque.
initially it just.
So yeah, that's about it.
So you guys have been driving. I sell Revo, so I'm going to talk good about Revo, but no, it's their choice.
But I think it was very interesting to see how each of the curve drives, each of the map drives differently, and you can feel that when you're driving it. And suddenly, when you're somebody who's not done a remap, and then you come into this space, that's when you start understanding your car much better and seeing how it performs. And for me, city drive was was a much bigger factor. So I thought I would go for the more refined maps because it gave me a better mileage out of it. Unlike the power, but I think you prefer that power, right?
I mean, I would prefer, because I'm doing a remap, I want to go a little performance oriented, so I would go for something more powerful, but maybe not Etuners. I mean, it's a little, I feel the power kicks in way too late, in my opinion. But of course, I think Code 6 overall is a good balance. I have Superchips, so I have no option. But it's mine for 6 months, so fuel efficiency on highways is pretty good, but in city it's very bad, to be honest, on Superchips. So I don't know in the long run.
Probably because Superchips is dumping so much fuel in the beginning that is giving you the power, so you're losing out. While he's not dumping so much, he's gradually accelerating.
Exactly. So, but it was very interesting. I hope we've answered a few questions
Of yours also, because I honestly went through the same thing and I was looking around, I was doing my own research, but I had no option like this. So we've been very lucky, thanks to Karan Shah here, and like overall support of him has been immense. So we hope we answered a lot of your doubts and we helped you make that decision on which one to go.
To go for a remap, please hit him up.
Yeah, hit him
Leave
up
his
for
handle down below.
You can also DM us if you would like. We can forward the contact or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you guys.
See you.